the hardest I've seen you laugh at your own joke.
Like, it was just like, where's the chin?
What do you mean? What do you want the chin to be down here?
Your beard was down there.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's just like,
I don't know if I'm bringing it back. Not for a while.
okay, for real. If we're talking about starting off in a new industry and you're the new kid on the block, you're starting from zero, you're trying to learn, right, the foundation of your whole entire business. But you do have people around who you can view as inspiration or look to for guidance, right? They've had success. They have a history of wins and they've figured out how to win at this game. So what is the best way to approach that? Because that can be really intimidating for someone who's brand new to try to approach,
Right.
let's say, a giant in the industry.
I think that's the hard part about traditional business is that sometimes you could find, I mean, actually, in all actuality, there's a million courses online for anything. But a lot of those people selling courses, a lot of the people selling things have never actually built something, for one. And for two, it's just everyone's trying to make, people are making money selling courses more than actually building businesses, right? But I think that's the hard part. That's also why I love our industry. And I love the firm that we work within, because there's a million examples of success in an easy road that you can find, to go from the bottom or the very beginning stage to seemingly what would be the top. Mm-hmm. So let's discuss the topic then. I'm brand new. I'm trying to make it. I'm brand new. I'm looking ahead, and my end goal seems really, really, really far away. In that scenario, what do I do? What does that road look like? How do I get there? So the fastest way to get there, I would say, first off, is to have relationships with people that are there.
Yes, that definitely helps, because they say, right? I mean, it's a fact. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
Right.
So if you're following in the footsteps of someone who's successful, that's the equivalent to you, right, going in a straight line as much as possible.
Right, someone who's already made it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's break this down. For those of you watching this, trying to navigate your way from where you are now, which could be the very beginning or it could be somewhere along the way, right? There's always someone ahead of you. There's always someone behind you. One of the most important things about growth is accepting the fact that it's going to take time, and it's not an overnight thing. There's no such thing as an overnight success. Anybody who became an overnight success, it was only an overnight success to the public, right? But that person's put in hundreds of thousands of hours of work, probably more than likely behind the scenes that no one saw. Mm-hmm. Where they were working broke, they were working miserable, they were working frustrated. And then they got their break and kind of, hit the public scene overnight. But accepting the fact that there's going to be a journey. So what we did is we wanted to map out. In fact, I'll just say the way this topic came to me was I woke up at 4:43 in the morning, and I was like, study the giants. It was like this thought in my head. So I rolled over. I didn't want to wake up too much though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You wake up in the middle of the night and you try to pretend like you're still half asleep because you want to stay half asleep.
When you use the restroom, you don't open your eyes all the way.
You know how hard it is for a guy to use the restroom and not open his eyes.
It looks
all
like
the way?
it's hard for you guys with your eyes open too. So.
Wow.
Same
Wow. All right. Well, let's just say that we do not go use the restroom in the middle of the night. At least I don't, with my eyes completely closed. I got to at least have a little bit open. Otherwise, yeah. Anyways, it just becomes a disaster. So I'm in the middle of the night and I'm like, hey, let me, I guess it's easy for y'all. You just sit wherever you want, you know?
Not wherever. There's a spot.
You just gotta make sure the seat is up, you know, before
That's easy. Yeah.
That's why you gotta at least open your eyes. I woke up in the middle of the night. I had this thought in my head. I didn't want to open my phone and then get the blue light, right, which wakes you up. And so I was like this, kind of like trying to find the voice memo so I could vocally speak it into my phone. But that's how this topic came to me. You know, my mind in the middle of the night was it was this: if I'm at the bottom and I'm trying to make it, you know, it's easy once you've kind of made it, right? Which we've kind of made it. You know, we got a long way to go from where we want to be, but we're not in this constant struggle for money anymore like we were back in the very beginning. And so, we broke it down into 4 key points, right? So what's the journey look like? Number 1, you got to study the giants. You got to study the people that are already there. And the beauty of that, especially in our business, is you can do that from a distance without even having a relationship with those people. You could pull up their numbers. You could study their numbers. You could look at what they're doing and what they're good at. You could watch them and take notes and apply that. And seemingly the first point inside of studying the giants would be that I individually need to master my skill sets. I need to master my craft. So if you think back to the beginning of business for us and us focusing on mastering our craft and studying the giants from far away, what do you think? What did that look like?
A lot of repetition, I would say. I think this is the area where people try to shortcut because this is work. You might look at someone who's successful and go, they make it look so easy. Well, the reason why they make it look so easy is because they've done it over and over and over and over again to the point where they can do it in their sleep pretty much.
That's the mastering your craft.
Yeah, it's spending the time going over, how to run an appointment, how to run a presentation, it depends on what industry you're in, but for us, it's, learning the financial industry, the products, learning how to communicate, to explain them to a client, and just repeat until you can teach someone else to do it, basically.
That's a really key component to it, because it's not just studying, it's study and apply, study and apply, study and apply, right? Study and apply and practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. And ultimately, in order to get out of the just study the giants phase, because in my mind, there are 4 phases, right, that we've kind of went through. We would watch and learn and study and apply and practice. And the main goal is to get to the point where we were effective. And we could put a little respect on our name, right? Where like our name would pop up every once in a while on the scoreboard and people were like, oh, who's that? And start to develop, some sort of result where once I have some sort of result, whether it's we just crossed 6 figures for the first time, whether it's we got a promotion, became a broker, we could open our own office now, like whatever it may be. We watch from afar, we study, we pay attention, we take notes, we watch their numbers, we watch the way they communicate with their company and their team, we watch their social media. Maybe we even try to interact every once in a while, but we're busting our butt. We're not just watching, we're not just studying, we're applying and working and messing up and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes and getting better, get some results, put some numbers behind our name. And then we were able to shift into the second phase. Yeah. What's phase 2? Become friends with the giants, right?
Yes.
Where you get to the point where you win so that you can associate with them. So that when we go to an event together, I can walk down and be like, hey, what's going on? So-and-so, how are you? Like, my name's Jay, and I could introduce myself. And it's not that they necessarily knew who we were in the beginning, but it's the fact that I could introduce myself. And then they look down, they're like, oh, this dude's got his ring. He makes a 6-figure income. Or they start to ask you questions. How are you doing in business? What's going on with you? And you could tell them like, oh, I'm actually at this place and this is what's working for me. And this is some of our accomplishments. And then we get to the point where we're close with them, right? And so we could pick their brain and we could associate. Talk about that a little bit.
People want to help people who are working, who are helping themselves. And that's where you're talking about earning that friendship, earning that association, because nobody wants to try to help you if you're not even doing the bare minimum, right? You're not even trying. You're just kind of wanting the, all the information, but you're not putting any action behind it.
Right.
And so if people see you working, people see you trying, I mean, as long as they're a good person, they're going to want to help you along.
Because you're off the ground already.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you guys. You got to get yourself off the ground.
You can't give feedback for doing nothing.
Yeah, you got to learn how to like get up and walk and like start moving this ship. Like the fundamental at the very bottom of the skill set is it's self-induced. Like you got to be able to get you up and moving. And once you're up and moving, and now you start to, you get out of that first phase where you're studying the giants and applying the efforts yourself. Now when I go meet Ronnie out, at an event, or I run into her at the grocery store or something, and I introduce myself, it's, I've already kind of earned that respect because I did the part that I was supposed to do on my own, which is I figured out how to get the basic fundamentals down by studying the CDs, watching people's YouTube, studying the numbers, and now I could kind of move this train myself and start to build a relationship and pick their brain, right? One of the key things I want to add here, though, is that for us, we always found a way to add value in return. That's something I'm very conscious of, is that we add value in return, that we're not just taking.
How would you do that?
I always did that. I learned from our coach. We learned from Dan that Dan will always find from their assistant what it is that person likes. And he'll go, okay, hey, do me a favor. Reach out to so-and-so's assistant, find out what they like, what is their favorite places to eat, what are their hobbies, and then, what do they enjoy, and then we would buy a gift for that person that we knew they would like. And that's the key thing. It's not lazy gifting. And I don't mean this, gifting is gifting, but we would try to make it personal. We would reach out to them. Like when someone sends us a gift card to, Outback Steakhouse, I'm like, well, we don't eat meat. We're kind of vegan. We could go there and get the asparagus maybe. But, my point is like we would reach out and try to really get to know what that person enjoys. Like with Charlie, with our coach, if you buy him, 1926 Padron cigars, he's a happy camper. If you know anything about Dan, you know that he smokes cigars and you know what his favorite is.
What if money is an issue?
Yeah, there's tons of ways to add value without, even if money's an issue. Nothing really goes further than even just a handwritten thank you card. That was genuine.
I appreciate those.
Yeah, just a genuine handwritten thank you card. Hey, I don't know if you remember me or not, but I ran into you at convention. I got a chance to shake your hand and take a picture with you. I really appreciate the time you spent with me. It stretched my thinking a lot and meant the world that you took that moment. By the way, here's the picture we took, so you remember me. I'll see you soon. Something like that. Goes so far.
Yeah,
it goes so far. I remember the first time someone said, "Hey, can you do a call for my team?" I was like, "Seriously? Yeah, I would love to." Like, holy shit, That was Nick Lancaster, actually. Nick was the first one who ever asked me to do a guest call outside of our own,
Right.
our own calls. And so, I was so freaking pumped, man. It like meant the world. So that's number 2, become friends with the giants and give more than you take. Because that's what most people forget to do is show gratitude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like you said, it goes so far.
Especially because no one does that. And so you stand out a lot when you do that.
Oh, yeah.
So number 3, I started off studying the giants from afar. I got a little bit of success behind me, and now we became friends. Now what? Now number 3 is you get to compete with those giants.
So that sounds scary, right?
Yeah.
I think it sounds a little scary, especially if you're just getting your footing. So how would you do that in a way where it's not like you're not calling out someone who is light years ahead of you in business?
That's the secret, is you compete silently. Everyone competes at the top. They still compete, but they compete for the most part pretty silently. You know, it's because it's a respect thing. It's a competition, not a comparison, right? So I'm not the people winning like that. At that point, they're pretty. The self-esteem is not necessarily an issue, right? They're confident in who they are. They're grateful for where they're at, and everyone helps each other, right? So we compete, but we compete silently. You know, we hang out together, but we study each other's numbers. We pick each other's brains. We add value to each other. I know that this lady's really good at one thing that I could improve in, you know, and I'm really good at something that she could improve in, and we help each other. We do calls for each other. We challenge each other. We collaborate on events with each other. You know, we do different things like that. And so it's competition, but really it's me. I'm starting to chase those people and go, okay, what would I need to do to get my business to that place now?
So it's healthy.
Oh, 100. Well, and I would say 95% of the time. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some cases where it's not, but in most cases, there's a mutual respect of like, hey, man, you got here. I've been here for a long time, and you just got here. Like, congrats to you. Like, the fact that you just got here and I've been here, like, that the person who's there, the people ahead of you never hate on you. That's the thing. You only get hate from people at the same level as you or people doing worse off than you. The people at the top, when I see someone go from 0 to 6 figures to multiple 6 figures to now I see you in Hawaii and now I see you on the elite trip, I'm like, damn, all right. Well, what the heck are you doing over there? Congratulations. Well, like, welcome to the party. You know what I mean? It's it's never a disrespect thing. It's a mutual respect.
Yeah, it was powerful.
Yeah. Stay close to the fire, right? You compete with those people. You chase their numbers. You try to put up some giant numbers yourself. Stay close to the fire. And ultimately, your goal is to stay in that circle. Because it's a circle at the top of any industry. You know, and some people have been there for a long time. Like, I saw this statistic, or not statistic, but like a fact today, that LeBron James is now playing against people who are the kids of what used to be his teammates. That's how long he's been in the NBA.
Wow.
Like, he's competing against the children of people he used to compete against. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
Freaking nuts. Some of them are on his team now. And he's like, yeah, I used to play with your dad. Like,
That's
welcome to the
crazy.
NBA. You know, so I mean, that's the thing. It's like you try to get, like, these kids are like, oh my God, I remember like pretending I was LeBron James in my backyard, you know? Obviously, I'm more of a Kobe fan. But, like, this dude's been in the NBA that long where people are now, what do? They used to study LeBron, and then now they have a relationship with LeBron, right? Which probably started when they were kicking butt in college and dominating in college and getting recruiting calls. And now they're playing with him or competing against him. You know, it's nuts. It's pretty nuts. All right, what's the last step? The last step is in doing all that. You ultimately, in that journey, the end result is that you become one of those giants yourself.
Yeah, it's the association, right? You earn that association. You put your feet, to the action, and now you are a giant.
Yeah, you become that giant. Now, there's still probably giants bigger than you.
Of course.
And there always will be. That's the beauty of the game,
Yeah.
right? Is that the people who paved the way continue to pave the way so that we can all continue to grow. That's the beauty of it. You know, like LeBron right now, his goal, when they interviewed Shaq said he believes LeBron's goal now is to set the scoring record so high that no one will break it for the next 60 to 100 years. You know? And so he studied, became that person. Now he'll just continue to, as long as he stays healthy, set that record so high where it won't get broken for a long time. But that's the thing, is you become a giant yourself. And here's one of the biggest points. It's not just about your numbers, your cash flow, how much money you make, how much business you do, how big your company gets. Becoming a giant isn't just the numbers.
Right.
It's what? It's the development of who I became throughout that process.
You as a person.
Exactly. Right? The thinking of a giant. How do you think a giant thinks? What's different about the way a giant thinks?
They think big.
They think big, right?
Yeah.
Naturally, automatically. Now, was it always that way?
No, everyone has to start off where they're at and grow into it.
Right. I was on the phone with one of our top guys. Mm-hmm. I was on the phone with Andres today, and he started off in the military. He was part-time with us. He came full-time, and now like his commission cycle tomorrow is equal to what he used to make in an entire month in the military.
That's pretty cool.
And I was like, damn, bro, you went from like what took you a whole month to do, now you do in 3 days. He's like, dude, it's freaking crazy. And I'm like, and then you go do that 4, 5, 6 times a month, you're turning your annual income into a weekly income.
Yeah.
Or a monthly income. And then eventually it becomes a weekly thing. And so it's the thinking, the routine.
The habits.
The routine, the habits, right? Mm-hmm. What are some giant habits? What are some giant routines?
Reading the right books.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's something that giants do. They continue to grow.
Yeah.
And the fact that a giant, we're even talking about giant routines. Everyday people don't necessarily even have routines, right?
Right.
Routines that guarantee me success. Mm-hmm. Reading's one. What else?
I think focus. You got to have things on your list that you're absolutely going to get done every single day. Things that are going to lead you into success. Guarantee your success. That's the best way you can guarantee it, is if you're taking the right action steps every single day.
If I do this, I have zero doubt I will attain this.
Yes.
It's an insurance policy on your success, mm-hmm. right? That's what a routine does. What else?
Getting feedback.
Getting feedback.
Yeah. Right.
Why do most people not get feedback?
Ego, they're
100%. Yep.
It hurts sometimes to hear what you're doing wrong.
Yep. Yeah. Especially if the ego's in the way. Yes. But that's not a giant thing. That's a small person
mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
The giants constantly get feedback. Like, why? I want to learn. I'm aware. I don't have a self-confidence issue. I don't have a self-esteem issue. I know who I am. I know I'm a badass. Therefore, I'm open and searching for someone to tell me where I need to improve. Because it's not a sign of me lacking as a person. Instead, it's a sign of an area that I could go grow and make more money in. Right? But when I don't have a giant's way of thinking, I'm constantly feeling like I have to prove something, right? Therefore, feedback hurts and feels like an attack.
Yeah.
Last thing, skill set of a giant.
Skill sets, yes.
Becoming a giant means I now have the skill sets of a giant, mm-hmm. which is probably, I could close a deal.
Yeah.
I could network.
Mm-hmm.
I could communicate. I could build relationships. I know how to add value to those relationships. I know how to maximize those relationships. I know how to monetize my daily activities. Mm-hmm. And even the skill set of focus and the skill set of maintaining a routine, and the skill set of discipline and the skill set of consistency, all of those things are things that you have as a giant. But those are things that come naturally and automatically as going through the study the giants, become friends with the giants, compete with the giant, and by default, you become a giant.
Through the growth process.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Finish us off, huh?
All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching as always. And, hopefully you're enjoying these topics. Always open to suggestions. So follow, like, all that good stuff. And shout out to our producer, DJ Just Jay. He makes music. Check him out.
Yes. We're out.